And welcome back to the show. Sanctuary for Families is New York's leading service provider and advocate for victims, I should say survivors of domestic violence, sex trafficking, and other related forms of gender violence. Now, every year they empower thousands of adults as well as children to move from fear and abuse to safety and stability, transforming lives through a range of comprehensive services as well as advocacy. And joining us to share a little bit more now, we are pleased to be joined by the Deputy Director of the Bronx Family Law Project at the Sanctuary for Families, Karla George. And Karla, good to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me here today. It is an honor to talk to you and explain more about Sanctuary.
Yeah, I want to talk about Sanctuary because I think it's so important, especially in a time like this with the work that you do. We know that COVID has really caused isolation and people have to stay at home. And the possibility of the rise of numbers of cases of domestic violence and things like that. So, for a minute, just share with us a little bit about how this has actually impacted some of the work that you're doing.
Oh, sure. Well, as everyone knows, the pandemic hit in March of 2020. And so we immediately pivoted our services so that they would be remote services. One of the things that we did was we turned our hotline into a live hotline, and we had actual attorneys answering that hotline from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day, providing services for clients that needed it. In addition, we did our crisis intervention, safety planning, and case management via phone and video phone calls. We also changed our mental health counseling over to conversion of the intensive full day career training and remote learning. So the pandemic did hit everyone pretty hard. The numbers of domestic violence and filing of domestic incident reports increased astronomically. And that was because, as we assume, more people were home with no place to go and they could not leave their abusive partners or their abusive, whoever might have been abusing them. And I say that because it's just not intimate partner violence. And so Sanctuary decided to immediately change what we were doing from in person to virtual.
Yeah. And so, for someone who may not be so familiar with the work that you do, I know that you do a lot of advocacy and really helping out, particularly in the area of domestic violence and those areas in particular. Share with us a little bit about your organization.
Sure, absolutely. So, Sanctuary, like you said, is the leading service provider for survivors of domestic violence and gender based violence. And what we do is we provide a holistic approach to our services, which include legal services and counseling services. So, once you come through our doors, we are there to help you with everything that may affect a survivor. As some people know, survivors are affected in housing. They are affected by their wages. Sometimes the abusive partners are the what we call the moneyed spouse. And so it's our goal to have someone come in and we are like a one-stop shop, if you will. So that person might be coming in for legal services and they might find themselves referred to counseling or referred to our career readiness program. And that's how we assist survivors of domestic and gender-based violence.
So, tell me a little bit more about the organization itself, because you do have a direct impact when it comes to these families' lives and really being able to intervene and bring stability. And share with us a little bit about that because when you're going through a process, when whether it's domestic violence or you're going through a process where the family has actually been broken up, there's a lot of instability there, and you do a good job of really trying to bridge that gap.
Yes, we do. So, like I was saying earlier, our goal is to protect not only our clients, but the family and put them on a path to stability. The way we do that is that when a client comes to us, they might be just experiencing or what they feel like they're just experiencing are issues of domestic violence, which ensues fear. So they leave the home. What we do thereafter is we consult with them. And like I said, we might consider filing an order of protection on their behalf to make sure they're safe from their abusive partner. Then that would go into what do we do if there are children involved? And if there are children involved, we would go into family court and or Supreme Court, and we would ask for a custody order, which would give our clients the right to make decisions on behalf of the child, and or they would have the right to have the child live with them primarily. That's to make sure that there is some stability, so the children know which parent they will be living with, which school they will be going to. That also provides stability for the clients so that they know an abusive partner can't just come pick up their children from school. In addition, child support is very important. Most of the times, our clients rely on the abusive partner's income. What that entails is that we go into court, and while we're filing for custody, we will file for child support on behalf of the children to make sure that there's stability in the income, that these clients can continue to support themselves and support their children. And in addition, we might address visitation, how often the children are going to see each parent and what that is going to look like, whether it's going to include day visits, whether it's going to include overnight visits, and a lot of different things play into that. If your abusive partner, for example, has an issue with either drugs or alcohol, there might be a suggestion or an application for there to be supervised visitation. So there's many different levels of legal work that we do within the family law realm, and it's really fact specific and it depends on the client's circumstances. But what we do is that we just, when a client comes in, we provide that holistic service to make sure that we're touching on all of those points to get them on a path of stability.
Yeah. And so I want to just take an inside look to your organization, because when we see the work that's going on when it's regards to domestic violence, we know that there can be some contention there. But when you're talking about families and they're going through, whether it's divorce or the custody, uh, it's not always contentious, is it?
It is not always contentious. In some instances, we get clients that have been separated from their abusive partner for quite some time. And in that respect, we have people that contact us and say, I have been separated and I would like to apply for a passport, for example, but I need an order to do that. Is that something you can help me with? Or we've had instances where the abusive partner agrees to a divorce. So it's not, like you said, we don't have to go to court and go to many court appearances and sit in front of a judge. We can do something and settle the case on behalf of them. So it's not always contentious, and we really don't try to make it contentious. We really just want to help the clients, and like I said, get the clients on a path where they can be self-supporting.
What are some of the greatest obstacles you're facing now, given the fact that we're in this COVID environment? I know a lot of people are talking about how organizations have been impacted. So I want to take the time to ask you, how have you been impacted in this COVID climate?
It was really a struggle for our clients to pivot to virtual services. One of the things that Sanctuary is infamous for is being that place where you walk into our office and you feel like it's your second home. We, as far as even the way our offices are decorated, it's very welcoming to our clients. We have playrooms for the children when they come into the offices. And because we provide that holistic service, you might come to see me, but you might see another service provider walking through the hallways that you want to say hi to. And that really changed, considering that we couldn't see our clients in person and we couldn't not see potential clients in person. And so it affected our relationships in that way. What we did in order to make that a little easier for everyone, not just the clients, but also the attorneys, we do develop these relationships with our clients, is that we tried to do everything by video. And so it wasn't so removed as doing it by phone. We also like I said earlier, we changed all of our services to remote services. And the way that it's affected us more recently is the back and forth of COVID. Are we going back into the office? Are the courts open? Things of that nature. And so we've been advising clients to continue to contact us virtually. We have been assisting with the courts being half open. And that means that you can't always just go into the court and get a petition drafted. So we have been assisting in that regard, but it's been pretty trying on us to correspond with our clients in this virtual way. So we try to accommodate that the best way that we can.
Talking to some of our legal correspondents that we have here on the show, we always talk about how the court system has been impacted. The fact that you've got a backlog of cases you had before COVID even happened. Now with COVID, you have an increase of cases, and with the possibility of domestic violence cases rising during COVID, really getting in front of a judge and really getting some resolution can sometimes be delayed. Has there been any frustration on your part or the organization in terms of just, having to now deal with even more delays in the court system, or have you been able to bypass that because of the severity of the cases that are coming before you?
And in the beginning of the pandemic, the courts were closed except for emergency applications, which included our orders of protection. There was a lot of frustration, not only from us as a service provider, but also from our clients, because what one may deem an emergency, someone else may not. And that is what was happening with the courts. People were not seeing their children. Abusers were using COVID-19 as an excuse not to give the children back to our clients. Some people even left the jurisdiction to go to a safer place because of COVID-19. And so when we put those applications in, some of them were denied as not being emergencies. And we had to explain that to the clients. That's one of the hardest part of our job, is telling the clients that, the court said no, or we don't have a way right now to assist you further. But there was a lot of delay with the courts. As of right now, I still have cases that were open before the pandemic started. And that also affects us, because if we don't close our cases, we can't take on new cases. So it's
Mm.
really been a hard time with the courts being backlogged, and there's adjournment dates that are 4 months out. So it makes it really hard. But as the courts do open, they have been more open to what we call emergency motions, where we get in front of a judge a little bit sooner than as if we filed a regular petition or motion. So they've been more open to that, but it has been hard for our clients and us as well.
Yeah. So I want to let you share with us a little bit about the Family Law Project. We want you to share with our viewers the work that goes on there.
Sure. The Family Law Project we are about 30 attorneys around throughout New York City, and we serve all 5 boroughs. And what we do is we provide legal services and family law, which includes, like I said, custody, child support, divorce, paternity, and that also includes the orders of protection. And like I said, we are a holistic approach. So if you come to us with a family law issue, then we do make referrals within our organization and outside of our organization. But the legal services in general, in the Family Law Project, are focused on those specific areas of law.
And so when you have clients, obviously the first thing that you want them to do is have this assurance that everything's going to be well and they're going to be well taken care of. But I do know that for somebody just walking through the door, sometimes that rapport and that relationship can be sometimes hard to develop given the fact of the circumstances that they come from. Talk to us about how you're able to navigate that and actually able to, get that relationship going, so that way you can be able to better serve your clients.
Sure. Survivors of domestic violence don't present in one way, and that's very important for all of us to remember. Some of the domestic violence survivors sometimes present as they don't understand. They don't think that we can help them. They've been abused by the system. They haven't been provided with services, but they come to us as a last resort. And so for me specifically to build that relationship with them, first I explain that I am here to help. You are at a safe place. This is what I came here to help you. I came to this area of law to help you. And that kind of eases it. But if I'm not able to make that connection with just that information, then what I do is sometimes I even share personal stories, because even though we are attorneys, we are advocates, we all have a story. And sometimes when I share a little bit of a personal story with a client, then they understand that she does understand me, she does get it, and they start to open up a little bit more. So that's how I approach the situation. And most of my clients, we are now we're friendly. I know their children. I know when they, have a new job. I know when they are in a new relationship. And that's because we start to share on more of a personal level, because these issues are personal. Family law is very personal. It touches on all of the different aspects of your life. So it's important to me to know my clients and for them to trust me. And it's important for them to know that they can trust me. And so that's why I'm a little bit more personable in the work that I do.
Yeah. And so when you talk about caseload and the amount of people that you can take on, I mean, in order for you to be able to take on new people, as you said, there's got to be this departure of some of the old cases. So have you been able to get to a place where you can take on new clients if they're coming through your doors?
Yes, more recently, as I stated earlier, the courts have been more open, and the courts are really geared towards closing that backlog of cases. So we have been conducting trials virtually, which has been a small feat, but we've gotten there. The technology can be hard on some days,
Mhm.
but we've gotten to a point where we are conducting trials seamlessly. We are conducting conferences and therefore closing out some cases. Sanctuary has also tried to expand our legal services by hiring additional employees in order to take on new cases. So we have been able to take on new cases as of a couple of months ago. And remember, each program is a little bit different. So family law, our cases can range anywhere from 6 months to 5 years that we actually have a case pending in court. But immigration, for instance, their cases are pending also for a very long time, but it's not as labor intensive. So they can take on more cases as they come in. But sanctuary, we will make a way, especially if we feel that it is a dire situation and that you need the help right now. If I cannot do it, then I will find someone in the organization that can help.
Mhm. And you have a variety of different lawyers, and share with us a little bit about the lawyers that you have under your umbrella and the work that they do.
Sure. So, in addition to the Family Law Project, we have the Anti Trafficking Initiative, and they deal with a lot of issues with LGBTQ. And we also have the Courtrooms Advocates Project, and that is a project where we get law students to go into court and actually service survivors of domestic violence by assisting them in getting orders of protection. I was actually part of that program when I was in law school, and that's how I found Sanctuary. That program helps so many people, as well as it trains law students for this type of work. We also have the Courtroom Advocates Project 2, which assists students in college on Title IX cases. We have the Immigration Intervention Program, which assists clients with immigration issues. So that is just some of our programs that we have that are our legal programs that we assist survivors of domestic violence.
Uh, and so, for people who want more information or to be connected, or if they heard something today that really resonates with them, what can they do in terms of contacting you and getting connected with services?
Sure. They can contact Sanctuary for Families online. You can go to our website, and that is www.sffny.org. We also have a hotline that you can call, and that information is listed on the website. And you can also reach us through calling any of the family justice centers here in the Bronx. That number is 718-508-1220. And they will connect you not only to Sanctuary for Families, but other services for survivors of domestic and gender-based violence.
Well, Carla, I want to thank you so much for being with us and sharing with us and the great work that's going on behalf of so many families and really advocating for so many people. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.